With deepest respect and honor, I now invite Honorable Justice Shobha Annamma Eapen, Judge, High Court of Kerala, for the inaugural address. It is indeed a privilege on my side to invite you, ma'am, a woman who has conquered great heights to represent the face of many other women behind to inaugurate this function. I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, to deliver the inaugural address.
Dr. Bindu Nambiar, Principal, Government Law College, Ernakulam. Nisar Ahmed KT, District Judge and Member Secretary, KeLSE. Indira Ravindran, Member, Kerala. Gifty Woman, Associate Professor, Government Law College, Ernakulam. Advocate Rosemary Sibi, Convener, LJRF Center for Women and Children. My dear students and the members of the LJRF, happy to be with all of you. Let's move on to the inaugural address. It is rightly said, while a murder destroys the physical frame of the victim, sexual harassment degrades and defiles the soul of a helpless woman. Sexual harassment of women is a global phenomenon, prevalent both in developed as well as in developing countries. Cutting across religion, culture, race, caste, class, and geographical boundaries, it has spread like virus in the society. It, being offensive to human dignity, human rights, and gender equality, has emerged as a fundamental crisis world over. It is a complex issue involving women, their perceptions and behavior, and the social norms of the society. Prior to Vishaga guidelines, there were no specific laws in the Indian Penal Code that could be evoked. It has been 25 years since the Honorable Supreme Court framed Vishaga guidelines. Nearly 15 years after the framing of Vishaga guidelines, Parliament passed the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. Banwari Devi, a social worker, I hope everyone has read the Banwari Devi case and all. Banwari Devi, a social worker associated with the government program, who attempted to stop a child marriage of 9-month-old infant girl, was socially and economically boycotted in her village. Her husband was beaten up and she was brutally gang raped by 5 men, which included the father of the child, whose marriage she attempted to stop. What followed was a long and arduous legal battle which still continues. The class action filed by certain social activists and NGOs led to the glorious Vishaga guidelines being framed by the Honorable Supreme Court. Banwari Devi had no direct role in this law. She was just the catalyst. Alongside taking up cudgels for Banwari Devi, the petition drew attention towards the societal aberration and sought judicial assistance in finding suitable methods for realization of the true concept of gender equality, and to prevent sexual harassment of working women in all workplaces and to fill the vacuum in existing legislation. Vishaga guidelines, as laid down by the Supreme Court, put the onus of a safe working environment on the employer. The main intention of these guidelines is to provide a platform for redressal and grievance mechanism against workplace sexual harassment. It was these guidelines that motivated the formation of the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, POSH. The Act is very important as it discusses the various instances of sexual harassment and how women can complain against this kind of behavior. The Act is grounded in the constitutional guarantee of the right to life and liberty, Article 21, right against discrimination, Article 14, and freedom to practice any trade or profession without hindrance, Article 19(1)(g). The introduction of POSH law is very important for all women in India as it is central to promotion of a women's right and safety. After Vishaga's case came in 2 important cases which strengthened the legal framework for workplace sexual harassment. In the Apparel Export Promotion Council versus A.K. Chopra 1999, Honorable Supreme Court upheld the dismissal of a superior officer of the Delhi-based Apparel Export Promotion Council for sexual harassment. The Apex Court enlarged the definition of sexual harassment and defined it as any unwelcome act. Later, in the Medha Kotwal LA and others versus Union of India and others 2013, the Supreme Court placed emphasis on states to follow the Vishaga guidelines and to ensure its effective implementation. Further, the court asserted that if the guidelines are not complied with, then the aggrieved persons or the victims could approach the high courts. While the Vishaga guidelines were confined to the traditional office setup, recognizing the fact that sexual harassment may not necessarily be limited to the primary place of employment, The POSH Act has introduced the concept of an extended workplace. As per the POSH Act, workplace includes any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer for the purpose of commuting to and from the place of employment. POSH Act has also elaborated the complaint filing process, defined workplace, sexual harassment, etc., and also made it a penal offense by specifically prescribing punishment for a violation. India is rapidly advancing in its developmental goals, and more women are joining the workforce. The recognition of the right to protection against sexual harassment is an intrinsic component of the protection of the women's human rights. It is a step towards providing women independence, equality of opportunity, and the right to work with dignity. Sexual harassment at workplace is a social challenge that needs to be addressed. It is important to enhance the awareness of employers and employees on the existence of forms of sexual harassment at the workplace, preventive measures and legal framework on preventing and addressing sexual harassment. Dear students, being the next generation of our legal system, it is your duty to ensure that women get a better and safer work environment. Judiciary is the last resort of a common man. You are all proud aspirants of a judicial system, and society looks upon you as the torchbearers to ensure effective and proper implementation of legislation by imparting awareness and by educating the society of their rights and duties. Dissemination and awareness raising activities should be regularly conducted and evaluated in order to improve best practice on how to address sexual harassment at the workplace. Enhancing training courses on sexual harassment and providing documentation or a handbook on the prevention of sexual harassment at the workplace can help in combating it. With this, I conclude and I inaugurate today's panel discussion on sexual harassment of women at workplace. I may be excused for leaving early. I have to attend another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was indeed a inspiring and informational speech. Thank you so much for that.